So the deal is done. Lewis Hall to Newcastle United, a fee of around 28 million. Player set for medical this week. There's actually a plane from London to Newcastle, which some people believe could be Lewis Hall's plane. Deal is essentially done, and I believe that Lewis Hall has agreed a 6-year deal with Newcastle. Lewis Hall is a big Newcastle fan. His family are big Newcastle fans, and despite agreeing a new contract with Chelsea last week, he has agreed to join Newcastle because Chelsea kind of needed to balance FFP. Chelsea didn't actually really want to sell this guy because he's up there with Reece James and Levi Colwill as one of their best and most talented players. But Chelsea were in a position where the player was really pushing to go to Newcastle, really wanted to go to Newcastle, and they did have to sell to a rival. Now, there's a lot of Chelsea fan outrage about Lewis Hall leaving, and that is because Lewis Hall is an unbelievable player. A lot of people saying 28 million for an 18-year-old, this is crazy. A lot of people saying the price tag is crazy, but I'm sitting here as a Manchester United fan telling you this is a really good deal for Newcastle United because this is an English player, this is an 18-year-old, and this is a player of a rival. Chelsea, maybe to not a direct rival, maybe would have sold for 20 million. But in today's market, 28 million isn't bad. He's played 9 games. Most of those games were against the top 6 last season, and he did not look out of place one bit. He can play left back. He can play centre mid. He's 18 years of age, and at 18 years of age, he's better than Reece James was at 18 years of age. At 18 years of age, he's better than Levi Cole was at 18 years of age, and he's extremely, extremely versatile. Not only that, obviously the boy is a Newcastle fan. He loves Newcastle, and I think this is going to be an unreal deal. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Lewis Hall, what he's going to add to Newcastle, and I think we have to talk about Newcastle's business this summer, arguably being some of the most underrated business of the summer. Livramento is 20 years of age. Lewis Hall is 18 years of age. They have got 2 of the best young fullbacks in football, best young talents. In 4 or 5 years, they could have the best left back and best right back in the world. They've got a good squad. They've got a good core. Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, Isak. They've arguably got 3 world-class players in there. You know, they've got other good players. Harvey Barnes is a solid player. Callum Wilson is an incredibly underrated player. Nick Pope's great. Botman is really good. I actually wanted United to sign him when we were first linked to him. You know, and they've obviously got a very solid foundation, and Lewis Hall will be coming through. But obviously, he's not going to play week in, week out. He's 18. But we saw in a poor Chelsea squad last season that Lewis Hall was the shining star in a poor Chelsea squad last season. And I want to show you just how versatile Lewis Hall is in my screen. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit of statistics on Lewis Hall. So I hope you can see this. This is my screen here. This is Lewis Hall. Premier League, he played 9 games. And people might say 28 million is a lot for 9 games. Amad Diallo played 9 minutes and Man United paid 35 million for him. We actually technically played 18 million, 6 million in payable add-ons and then potential add-ons there. So we only so far paid 24 million for him. But, you know, Wan-Bissaka cost Man United 50 million. They've got Livramento and Lewis Hall for less than 50 million. And Wan-Bissaka was one of those good young fullbacks in football. We see the price in the market right now. Caicedo, 115 million. Lavia's had his first good season in football. He went for, what, 50 million? Like, the football market is crazy, and especially when you're selling to a rival, I think 28 million is a good price tag. I really do think it is. I think for arguably the best young left back versatile player in football, 28 million, signing a rival's academy player is great business. Livramento was a great deal. Hall was a great deal. Their fullbacks are sorted. But this is what I like about Lewis Hall. Can play left back, can play left mid, can play left back, left wing. Look, he can play DM, he can play centre-back, he can play centre-mid. Reportedly, he likes to play between DM and left-back. He likes to play either in midfield or left-back. That's his preferred position. But at the end of the day, if he decides he wants to play in midfield, then Newcastle just got another great midfielder in there. He's someone that I think Dan Burn will still start at left-back for Newcastle. But if there's injuries, depth, he'll play games. There'll be games where he'll fill in. Obviously at DM centre mid, and he'll definitely be good on the bench. He's 18 years of age. Newcastle fans can't expect him to be insane this season, but I guarantee you that he is good enough to play in the Premier League and be a very good player for Newcastle. And under Eddie Howe's project, he's only going to get better and better. And you've got to think, if you look at Trent Alexander-Arnold, if you look at the way Pep Guardiola's playing, if you look at the way Arteta's trying to play, they're trying to get fullbacks that are comfortable playing in midfield. And in possession, you see fullbacks often going in midfield in the modern game of football. And Lewis Hall is the perfect example of a modern fullback. I think he's going to be really good. Lewis Hall and Livramento on the flanks, that is Newcastle's swap for the next decade if they reach their potential. And Lewis Hall is like Levi Colwill and Reece James. He's in that bracket, which is why Chelsea fans are so outraged. Yes, the fee, you could say it's a bit hefty, but at the end of the day, I think Newcastle having a good summer. They've got 170 million spent. They brought a few youngsters. They've got the likes of Tonali. They've got the likes of Livramento. They've got the likes of Lewis Hall. And they've got the likes of Harvey Barnes. They've got 2 great young fullbacks. They got an attacker that they needed that is direct and scores goals, because while Alan St-Maximin was good on the ball and he was skillful, he didn't have that end product or decision making. He didn't have the goals. And I think Newcastle needed more goals because the defensive record was insane last season. It was the goals. Despite Isak being great and Callum Wilson being great, they did, goals was a thing. Tonali, they just got a top level midfielder in there. Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, and I think it'll be Jolinton or Willock, still unseen midfielders there. But I watched Lewis Hall play for Chelsea last season, and trust me, this guy was good at Chelsea last season. He only played a handful of games, but when he played, he was a bright spark in a poor Chelsea side. Because let's be honest, Chelsea were awful last season. Awful. And Lewis Hall, when he played, he was that guy, and you were like, yeah, nah, he is better than the rest of the side. I'll give you a little bit of insight into Lewis Hall here. Lewis Hall, obviously, 8 starts, 6 were against the Big 6 or Newcastle. So it's essentially the Big 7 now, because Newcastle are clear of Spurs. Anyway, he was utilised predominantly as a left-back, left wing-back. And as you can see here, against Man United, 7.7, and Chelsea lost that game. Against City, 7.7, 7.4, even in games that Chelsea were losing. And to get a 7.0 rating when your team is losing on SofaScore shows how good he was. But look, against these top sides, Newcastle United was great. You can see that his heat map predominantly on the left, but has the ability to go all around. Took a few corners there as well. But you can just see in these big games that he was really effective as well. And he is the future left back for England as well. He is probably the Luke Shaw replacement in a few years as well. Centre mid, left mid. I actually think that this is really good recruitment from Newcastle. Not just because he's one of the best young players, but they've got him from Chelsea. And Chelsea have got Cucurella and Chilwell. Chilwell will get injured. Cucurella, Lewis Hall. If I was a Chelsea fan, I'd want Cucurella gone, and I want Lewis Hall to be back up to Chilwell. That's what I'd want as well. I think we'll see him get a few games next season. I think Byrne might fill in at left centre back every now and then. We'll see him at left back. But you actually got to look at Newcastle's side. So Ben Botman, Lewis Hall, Kieran Trippier, Livramento, Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, Alexander Isak. Very good players there. Very good players there. I think after that, maybe they're another centre back, another midfielder, another right wing away from challenging. I think next season, if they signed an elite centre back to partner Botman, if they signed an elite right winger, and then they've got maybe another midfielder and potentially even a DM to allow Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes to play ahead, or even a creative midfielder, I think that they could challenge for the league. I mean, you could say they could challenge for the league this season. I don't think City have done the best business, but it's just about depth, how they will cope in the Premier League as well. But they've obviously got a good manager in Eddie Howe. As I've said, people don't talk about Eddie Howe enough. I think Eddie Howe should have won manager of the season last year, and I said that as a United fan, what he did with Newcastle to get them in the top 4. No one put Newcastle in the top 4 last year. No one did. Everyone knew City were going to win the league. I said that as well. But 4 to 5 years' time, could be the best left back in the world, even 3 years' time as well. 18, lots of potential. He signed a 6-year deal as well. Versatile, homegrown talent. And Newcastle now have Livramento that's 20, Alex Murphy that's 19, Sven Botman that's 23, Lewis Hall that's 18, Joe Willock that's 23, Lewis Miley is 17, and he really impressed me in pre-season as well. Tonali, I believe, is 22 or 23. Elliot Anderson is 20. Isaac is 23. Gordon is 22. Newcastle are generally building a team for the future. They might not challenge this season. They're going to be up there this season. But when you look at how young they are building a side for the future, and they've gone and bought the best 2 fullbacks this window for the future. They're thinking about their project carefully. Man United, I support Man United. We always go out and we spend 100 million on the Antonys, or we go and spend 60 million, or we buy players like Falcao and Sanchez that don't want to come, big name players. The way to rebuild a club is to get a few good signings in, like Man City got people like De Bruyne in. It was a bit of a spendy signing, but they went for those younger players that still had a bit of a fee, like Rodri and Laporte, but they were those younger players to build a team. John Stones was those younger players. You see where City are now. If you go with a Man United strategy and you expect Newcastle to go and try and sign, I don't know, Theo Hernandez at left back, or Dumfries at right back, or Hakimi at right back, and these big names, and it doesn't work. You've got Tonali in your big name, but then you've got your hungry young English players in Hall, Barnes, and Livramento. That is how you build a team. And Newcastle, and why I don't like that Newcastle signed Lewis Hall, is because I said when Newcastle got taken over by Saudi Arabia, cool, they've got all this money from Saudi Arabia, but it's how they spend it. Chelsea went and signed everyone last season, it didn't work. Newcastle got all this money, but they've got a strategy. Young players spending it wisely. They saw how Man City spent all this money and got to the top. They saw how Man United spent all that money and went. They saw how Chelsea spent a lot of money, messed up. They're not buying players for the sake of it. Newcastle have a clear strategy. They are listening to Eddie Howe, and they're doing what Eddie Howe wants. And for me, that is what I don't like, because I thought, it doesn't matter that Newcastle have got rich owners. They might just spend the money on crap, because it's not just about rich owners, it's about strategy. But Newcastle's transfer strategy is very, very good. And Eddie Howe is a very good signing. And the Chelsea outrage shows how good he was and how high Chelsea fans rated him. Very good as well. So I have to give it to Newcastle as well. Lewis Hall showed a lot of promise last season. He was better than Cucurella, which again wasn't hard. But he's a boy, a Newcastle fan. His whole family are Newcastle fans. So you've got a player that is young, hungry, wants to come, has proven that he can play in the Premier League and will only get better. And I think it's great business. I don't care about 28 million. You've got to look at the prices people are paying in the market right now for players. Ridiculous. Man United, Rasmus Højlund had his first ever season in a top 5 league at Atalanta, scored 9 goals. Great young player. I'm really happy that United signed Højlund. We've paid 64 million, rising to 72 million. Rasmus Højlund, that started 20 games last season, and that was his first season in the top 5 league. This guy is 28 million. He started 8 games. The money, 28 million. It's annoying because Man United would never be able to sell an academy graduate for more than 5 million. And if we had a good left back that good, he'd probably go for 5 million. But Chelsea are good at selling. But I still think this is a really good value deal. I really do. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. Thank you for watching today's video. Back soon and bye.